I worked with kids for a long time, and then something really magical happened to me. I had one of my own. And I think back to some things that I've read, and I was really struck by something where there's a man who'd done a lot of research on schooling. And what I heard him say shook me really hard. Because what he said that every major decision, I'm not talking about No Child Left Behind, or left behind, that in his opinion wouldn't consider major. I'm talking major meaning let's institute compulsory schooling. Every major decision that has affected the compulsory schooling system were made by childless men. Every major decision, there's only been about 4 or 5 in the whole history of compulsory schooling, maybe less. Every major decision made in compulsory schooling was made by childless men. That rocked me pretty hard.
I wouldn't recommend homeschooling for everyone just across the board, because it really is a family by family thing, I think. It does not work for everyone. It worked really well for me, but I wouldn't say to just blindly do it. It's a big choice to do.
I've been teaching college-level economics and statistics for the past 33 years, and I've taught at major universities including USC, Pepperdine University, and also community colleges, and I have been continually at a community college for the last 22 years. I have seen hundreds, if not thousands, of college freshmen and sophomores, so I have a very good idea of what high school graduates are like, what the diversity is there, and what they know. And the number one characteristic that they have is that they are burned out. They are resistant or apathetic. They sometimes are actively resistant to learning. They're uncomfortable with the whole process. They resist in every possible way they can think of while still being there. Most of them don't really want to be there. They are not interested in learning. They're only interested in graduating. And a lot of them are also very apathetic. They're waiting for someone to just lead them along and say, read this chapter, answer these questions, now you've got credit, now we'll move you to the next class. The homeschoolers that I have had, and I have had half a dozen or so in the past decade, are the absolute opposite of that. They are extremely enthusiastic, very excited to be there, far more interested in the learning than they are in the grade. I heard one telling other students around him, if you just pay more attention to what you're learning, the grade will take care of itself. So they're very, very different. And that difference I've thought a lot about, and I've thought about what is it that homeschoolers are doing. And I think that a lot of that difference is that we're just not harming them, because this is a very natural kind of way for humans to be. Some of us get through 13 years of public education and college and still have the embers of that love of learning, that curiosity, that bright-eyed interest in things. Some of us still have those embers, and we can fan them back into flames as adults. And that's, I think, what people mean by when they get out of school, then they get to find themselves. Many, if not most, kids do not survive that process with those embers still there and never discover them again and live a very different kind of life than those of us who are excited about living and learning do. And so I thought a lot about how to keep that alive in my kids, and really the conclusion I came to was that it's easy to just extinguish it. It's not that hard to keep it alive if you just don't do harm. So I took up the motto of do no harm. And so when I didn't know what to do, I just tried to have fun and tried to bring more joy into our lives. So I didn't know when we started how my kids were going to learn math, because to try to sit them down and make them learn math was not joyful. I didn't want to do the same thing the schools had been doing, which has created a massive epidemic of math phobia among adults in the country. But I didn't know what the alternatives were. I didn't know what would do them, better than doing the conventional methods. And so we did literally nothing except have fun and play a lot of games and talk a lot and have a really good time. And I just trusted that in the end, if they needed to learn math, that it would either have been absorbed somehow by osmosis, or they would decide at some point, hey, I need to learn this, and I will. Turns out I was right, and I'm very happy to say that all three of my kids have either graduated from college or are in college now and have learned math very easily when they got to the point at usually about 17 years old. I think for all three of them, actually, it was at 17 that they decided formal math seemed like a good idea of something they wanted to know. And they took some math classes and did very, very well, and they were fine. They are none of them in fields where they really have to use a lot of higher math, but if they needed to, they would not be afraid of it. They would be okay with doing it, and that's all I wanted. I was just happy that they didn't have math anxiety and math phobia as they got into college age. If they need to tackle it, they're going to be happy to, fine to do that. As far as other subject areas that cause children to be unhappy and miserable, sitting down, making them do their homework and things like that, again, I just chose not to do anything that seemed to lead to more disharmony or more difficulty, and I put our relationship first in every case. Whenever the issue came up, I just said, what's going to help us have a better relationship? And so my advice now to new homeschoolers or people whose kids are having trouble in school is to not worry about the academics, but worry a lot about what kind of life you're living. And that's what kind of life they will grow up expecting to live. We want them to grow up with a lot of enthusiasm, a lot of interest, a lot of gusto, a lot of moxie, a lot of confidence in themselves, the ability to decide what they want to do, to pursue their passions. Then we have to live that way all along. And sitting at the table doing workbooks with the kids unhappy, that's not the way we want them to live in the future, so it's better not to live that way now.
You just can't rhyme if you got no reason. Waiting on love, guess it's not the season yet. And let go of your inhibition and talk to me, I'll be listening. But don't let your words be all the same.